Hello, darlings. Welcome to Z-Star Africa, your home of sizzling drama updates. This week on Lost in Love, Teju faces the family's taunts over her friendship with Rituraj. Neil is falsely accused of assault. Rituraj exposes Teju's hidden affair, and Neil even regrets marrying Teju. This week is packed with drama you won't want to miss. So let's dive in. October 1st, 2025. The episode starts with Senior Dr. Serva telling Neil and his family members that they definitely need to attend the party. Lena arrives and asks, "What party?" Amruta tells her about the party they are organizing at the hospital for Neil and Teju. Lena jokingly asks Serva if he has started drinking someone else's tea, as he used to prefer the one she made. Serva replies that Teju is talented like her, and now she can take a rest, but asks why she looks sad. Lena says, "Neil has snatched my happiness, and just making tea doesn't make someone a good daughter-in-law." Teju speaks up, saying, "A good daughter-in-law needs a good family too." Lena then tells Serva that she is upset about Neil's marriage and won't attend the party. Vinod tries to convince Lena, but she refuses. Teju also says she won't attend the party without Lena. Lena responds, "That's your choice, but my decision remains the same," and walks away. Vinod tells Serva that he'll try again to convince Lena to join the family. Serva says he believes Teju will eventually win Lena's heart, just like she won Neil's. He adds that they'll be waiting for them at the party and leaves. Neil asks Teju for permission to enter the room. Teju says, "It's your room. Why are you asking for permission?" Neil replies, "Since you're staying here now, I thought I should ask. How could I enter without permission?" Teju retorts, "Just like how you married me without my permission." Neil admits he regrets his actions. He says, "If you'd told me someone was still in your life, I might have never married you." Teju asks what he means. Neil dismisses it, changes the topic, and says, "I didn't expect you to agree to attend the party." Teju says, "If you want to thank me, go ahead." Neil replies, "I thought you'd refuse, so I refused first. Why did you agree?" Teju says, "Because they invited me with love." Neil responds, "I understand now, you only have a problem with me." He asks why she agreed to go despite having issues with him. Teju says, "Who are you to decide for me?" Neil starts preparing an inflatable bed. Teju asks, "What's the need for that?" Neil says, "I can't fit on the sofa, and I had a backache during surgery, so I'm setting this up." Teju tells him to stop acting like a great husband and says she'll sleep on the inflatable bed, ordering him to take the main bed. As she pumps it, the bed bursts. She asks if he bought a cheap one. Neil says it was expensive, and he even has the bill. Teju says she'll sleep on the sofa, but Neil insists, "You're a guest here, sleep on the bed." Teju suggests, "The bed is large enough. Let's sleep with pillows placed in between." She arranges the bed and tells Neil to sleep on the left side. He refuses, but she insists, saying, "I don't like it when someone doesn't sleep well. I want to sleep like a princess." Neil smiles and says, "You are a princess to me." She scolds him and tells him to sleep. They turn off the lights, and Neil looks at Teju sleeping before falling asleep himself. The next day, Prachi asks Amai and Nandini if they're not ready yet. They say they're getting ready. Teju sees Neil working on his laptop and asks if he isn't coming. Neil thinks about Rituraj and Teju's conversation and replies, "Rituraj and the others will be with you." Teju says, "If you come, no one will blame me." Neil agrees to go. They get ready. Prachi enters and asks if the special couple is ready. She calls Jitu, who gifts Teju a Tanish Kundan necklace set. Neil helps Teju wear it. Yash arrives and compliments Teju, saying she looks amazing, but teases Neil that he doesn't look as good. They take Teju with them and ask Neil to hurry up and get ready. Rituraj enters the hall playing the guitar and singing Tuhi Deka to Yejana Sanam. Neil watches Rituraj and Teju together and thinks they look perfect. He regrets marrying Teju and decides to give her and Rituraj some alone time. Rituraj compliments Neil's look. Bhushan says, "You're ready, let's go." Neil says he has an important lecture at another college and can't come. The family suspects there's another reason. Rituraj says, "It's fine, I'll take Teju." Vinod says it will be embarrassing for Teju to attend alone and asks her to convince Neil. Teju refuses. Jita says, "Rituraj cancelled his show for this party. Why can't you cancel your lecture?" Nandini questions Rituraj if he really had a concert, as she never heard about it. Rituraj says he also needed rest. Leena is about to leave for the temple. Vinod asks if she's not coming to the party. Leena replies, "I've already made my decision and Teju's condition won't change it." Teju says, "I won't go to the party without Leena. Neil isn't coming, and I don't have any right over him. But I do have a right over you. I consider you my mother-in-law, that's why I call you Ayi." Leena responds, "Your words can't change my decision." October 2nd, 2025. This episode starts with Teju trying to convince Leena to join the Pradhan family at the party. Leena refuses, saying the party is meant for her and Neil. Teju tells her that the party is for the whole family and insists they should all go together. Amruta supports Teju and agrees with her. Hearing this, Leena agrees to accompany the Pradhan family to the party. Vinod then asks Neil if he will attend the party now that Leena is going. Neil responds that he still won't go and tells them to enjoy without him. Rituraj teases Neil, telling him to prepare for his usual boring lecture while they have fun at the party. Neil replies that he'll stay within his limits and makes a comment about it. Nandini questions Neil's thinking and comments on his behavior. Neil says he feels awkward around so many people. Observing Neil's behavior, Rituraj suspects that Neil knows about him and Teju. The Pradhan family arrives at the party. Dr. Serva and his colleagues welcome them and engage in conversation. Meanwhile, Manjari visits Neil and asks why he hasn't gone to the party. Neil says he feels uncomfortable at such gatherings. Manjari comments that she thinks Neil made a mistake by marrying, saying that Teju seemed upset about it when she spoke to her. Dr. Serva notices Neil's absence and asks Teju about him. Teju says Neil didn't come. Serva tells her not to worry and promises to bring Neil to the party. Rituraj asks Serva to leave Neil alone, calling him an introvert. Nandini scolds Rituraj for speaking ill of Neil. Neil asks Manjari to drop the topic. Manjari responds, asking how she can ignore the fact that the path he's chosen is full of thorns. She says she doesn't want him to go through what she did. Neil says he knows about her struggles and wishes his Jiju, brother-in-law, had supported her. Manjari says she and her husband never understood each other. When Neil asks why they didn't get divorced, she says he never agreed to it. She adds that she's happy being single and happy for Neil's marriage. But the family doesn't realize that he's actually happy. Dr. Serva then calls Neil and demands that he come to the party immediately, threatening not to return to the hospital or see him again if he doesn't. Neil tries to decline, but Serva insists and hangs up. At the party, the anchor welcomes everyone and announces that Rituraj will perform at his brother's party until Neil arrives, encouraging the crowd to enjoy the performance. The guests start murmuring about Neil's absence. Rituraj thanks Serva and his team for the opportunity and shares that the performance is special because his family is present along with his special friend, Teju. He adds that many don't know Teju is a talented singer. Nandini tells Amai she feels Rituraj is crossing the line by mentioning Teju on stage. Amai advises her not to overthink. Rituraj then announces that Teju will perform with him. Bhushan questions this, and Leena says Teju will agree immediately since she's eager for a singing opportunity. But Teju refuses. However, hospital staff urge her to sing. Rituraj thinks to himself that while Bhushan and the others may not like her singing, Teju will be their gift at home, and his gift when Neil sees their performance. He again urges Teju to sing. She declines, saying she hasn't rehearsed in a long time. Rituraj insists and plays a video of their last performance on the screen. Teju asks him to stop it, but Rituraj says he won't stop until she agrees to sing live. Prachi and others also request Teju to perform. Finally, Teju agrees. Rituraj starts singing V. Kamlia, and Teju joins him. Leena is visibly unhappy. The crowd cheers for an encore. As Teju tries to leave, Rituraj holds her hand and stops her. Neil, who has just arrived, is shocked to witness this. October 3rd, 2025. The episode starts with Rituraj and Teju singing a song. Bhushan feels upset as their daughter-in-law Teju is singing in front of everyone like this. Lena comments on Teju and tries to leave with Bhushan. Serva stops the Pradhan family and says it will not be good if they leave in the middle of the party like this. Vinod reminds Lena that Neil's colleagues are here and it will be disrespectful to them if they leave now. Hearing this, Lena sits down. Rituraj and Teju complete their song. The audience shouts for once more. Rituraj stops Teju when she tries to leave. He comments on Teju and asks the audience to request another song with her. The audience cheers again. Teju sings a song with Neil. Manjari asks Neil to sing a song. Neil doesn't agree. Serva comes to Neil and asks him to sing. He says he knows Neil can sing really well and asks him to sing if he respects him. Neil agrees. Teju and Rituraj sing another song. Everyone gives a round of applause to Teju. Rituraj shows it to her and says she could have had all of this, but she went and married Neil. Neil looks at Teju and Rituraj and thinks he shouldn't have come between them. After the performance, Serva comes on stage and says now Neil is going to sing a song. Rituraj and Teju think Neil is going to make a fool out of himself. Rituraj leaves the stage. Neil comes on stage. Teju tries to leave, but Serva stops her and asks her to sing with Neil. Serva leaves the stage. Neil starts singing the song. Teju later joins him. Bhushan says to Lena that Neil is singing today because Teju sang. Lena says they will talk about this once they go home. Bhushan agrees. Everyone gives a round of applause to Neil and Teju's performance. Teju later asks Neil why he lied the last time in Triambakeswar that he hadn't sung the song. Neil stays silent. Everyone praises Neil. Serva thanks the Pradhan family for accepting his invitation. Some people come to the Pradhan family and praise Teju and Rituraj's singing. The registrar of the government college comes to Teju and praises her, reminding her who he is. He says to Teju about her video going viral when she came to fill the examination form in her bridal clothes. The Pradhan family learns from him that Teju has filled the form for an MA in music, and Bhushan gets upset hearing it. People say Neil is lucky to have a rock star brother and a future star as his wife. At home, Bhushan says, "We have seen a video at the party, and now I will show you another one." He plays the video where Neil is singing amazingly in childhood, and everyone praises him, saying he has a bright future. Neil gets a trophy. Bhushan enters the stage and asks him to throw the trophy if he has respect for him. Neil throws his prize. Bhushan says songs can win the hearts of people, but this is not work, so he tells everyone that he will never sing after this day. Neil declares on the mic that he will not sing anymore and will focus on his studies to become a doctor or engineer. Teju cries watching the video on TV. Neil wipes his tears. Bhushan tells Teju that Neil respected him in childhood and left singing, and now see, he became Dr. Neil Pradhan. He asks Teju to understand his words. He says, "I didn't let Neil enter the singing profession, and you're our house's Lakshmi. I don't want you to sing in front of people, so promise me that you will never sing from this moment." October 4th, 2025. The episode starts with Bhushan asking Teju to promise him that she will not sing again. Teju says to Bhushan that she thought artists would be encouraged here, but now they are asking her to give up her dreams. Teju tells Bhushan that Amai and Nandini are the ones who insisted she sing the song. She points out that Rituraj is also a singer and part of this family, so why is she not allowed to be a singer? Bhushan clarifies to Teju that Rituraj is the son of Leena's sister. Bhushan says Rituraj doesn't have this family surname, and if he did, he would have either been an engineer or a doctor. Rituraj comments on this and says to Bhushan that whatever he has achieved today is because of his own hard work. He adds that in the future, wherever he will be, it will be on his own terms. Rituraj continues that when it comes to Teju, he knows it is her father's dream for her to be a singer. Leena comments about Mohit saying he doesn't have anything worthy to talk about and asks Rituraj not to speak about his dreams. Teju asks Leena not to speak ill of her father and says she will not keep quiet. Nandini asks Teju how she can speak against Leena. Teju asks Nandini if she would keep calm if her own parents were being scolded. Leena asks Teju to keep her voice and eyes down. Neil asks both Nandini and Teju to shut up. Leena comments on Neil for asking Nandini to shut up just for Teju. Neil clarifies that he asked both of them to stop. Neil then tells Bhushan that he gave his word to Teju that this marriage will not become a hurdle to her dreams and that he will support her. Bhushan says to Neil that he cannot believe he is going against him for Teju. Neil responds firmly. Mukta calls Neil and invites him and Teju to their home for a ritual. Mukta later talks to Leena over the phone to seek permission for Neil and Teju to come. Leena lashes out at Mukta, accusing them of manipulating Neil and putting their burden on him for selfish motives. Mukta insists they haven't done anything like that. Mukta later speaks to Teju over the phone. Teju says she will not come to that home because they married her off only to get her out of the house. Neil takes the phone and promises Mukta that he will bring Teju home tomorrow. Mukta tells the family she's worried about Teju's situation. She says, Leena yelled at me, accusing us of forcefully marrying Teju to Neil. Teju is upset and said she will not come back here. Mukta then asks her in-laws, what wrong did we do? Leena questions, has he grown up enough to make his own decisions? Neil responds, I did what I thought was right, and Teju can go to her parents' house. Leena adds, I never stopped her from going. But Teju says she won't go. Neil insists they should go, but Teju refuses. Amruta tries to convince her, saying, it's inauspicious if you don't do this ritual, so please agree. Jita also urges Teju to agree. In tears, Teju walks inside. She cries, thinking about how Leena insulted her and shattered her dreams. Holding her books, she sobs. Neil comes in and says, I know you're feeling bad. Teju replies, I can't fulfill my dad's dreams. You all are treating me like a puppet. What should I do? Neil apologizes on behalf of his mother and says, trust me. I'll talk to uncle. You don't have to give up on music. And please don't take out your frustration on your mom. Teju says, I've never faced so many problems. My dad was always a shield for me, and now he's not here. My life feels crowded but empty. Neil offers her water and a handkerchief. She wipes her tears. Neil says, when doctors are unsure, they go back to the basics. So meet your family, you'll feel better. Teju agrees, saying, okay, I'll go. I don't want anything inauspicious to happen to you. She adds, I don't know what my future holds, but my younger brother's future is secure now, and you've helped my mother a lot. Neil asks, you don't even like me, so why do you care about my well-being? Teju replies, stop using logic against me, and leaves. The next day, Alok is on a call discussing his business. The family is gathered in the hall. Prachi brings Teju and asks how she's doing. Rituraj comments, Teju is always good. Leena taunts, she says one thing and does another. She's going to her parents' house just to show off. Teju clarifies, I'm going because Neil insisted. Leena snaps, you never considered Neil your husband, so stop pretending you're listening to him. Rituraj says to Teju that if she feels her dreams are not being fulfilled, then it's his brother's fault. He says that before agreeing to this marriage, if Neil had asked her or spoken to her about what she really wanted, maybe things would have been better. Neil steps in and says, you're right, Rituraj. I made a mistake and apologize to Teju. I'll keep apologizing for the rest of my life if I have to. October 5th, 2025. The episode starts with Rituraj telling Teju that if she feels her dreams are not being fulfilled, it is his brother's fault. He says that if Neil had asked her what she truly wanted before agreeing to the marriage, things might have been different. Neil steps in and says, you're right, Rituraj. I made a mistake and I apologize to Teju. I'll keep apologizing for the rest of my life if I have to. He tells Rituraj that it is wrong to discuss husband and wife issues in front of everyone. Rituraj argues that he is a close friend of Teju. Neil responds that nothing is more important than marriage, not even friendship, and insists it's wrong to bring private matters into public. Alok supports Neil and agrees with him. Feeling embarrassed, Teju asks everyone not to stare at her. She questions Rituraj about calling themselves close friends, and asks how long they have actually known each other. Rituraj stirs tension by mentioning their past relationship, and reveals that Teju once came to Nagpur without informing her family. Leena asks Rituraj to speak clearly. Sensing that Rituraj is trying to humiliate Teju, Neil intervenes and defends her. He says he had dropped Teju safely back home and questions Rituraj's idea of friendship if he didn't care for her safety. Neil suggests ending the matter there. Teju then takes the elder's blessings. Vinod advises her never to allow a third person to come between her and her husband. Teju says she has always listened to her father and will continue to do so, apologizing if she has made any mistakes. Neil smiles upon hearing this. Later, Prachi asks Teju when she will visit again. Teju says she doesn't know. Leena taunts, then who knows? I don't think Neil knows either, as you don't even consider him important. Teju firmly replies that she respects Neil a lot. Neil and Teju then leave together for her house. Neil asks Teju to go with Mukta to Amaravati for her exam. Teju refuses. Neil then suggests she go with Rituraj. Teju asks Neil why he mentioned Rituraj's name. Neil says because she knows Rituraj and they are friends. Neil and Teju arrive at the Sivan house. Neil asks Teju to help him carry the gifts inside. Teju refuses, saying that since he bought them with his own money, he should bring them in himself. Neil hands his purse to Teju and tells her to keep it for her needs. Teju declines, saying she will not take any money from him and comments on it. Neil asks if she would take money from Rituraj, as she only talks to either him or Rituraj in the house. Teju thinks Neil suspects she had a relationship with Rituraj. The Sivan family warmly welcomes Neil and Teju and serves them food. They request Neil to stay back for the Satyanarayana Puja. Neil says he cannot as he has to go to the hospital. Aditi asks Teju to convince Neil to stay, but Teju refuses, saying no one can force Neil to stay if he doesn't want to. Later, Neil takes Teju to a room. Neil tells Teju that he knows she doesn't want him to stay. He asks if she really wants him to stay back. Teju comments that he should decide for himself and walks away. Mukta overhears their conversation. Neil then decides to leave for the hospital. Meanwhile, Rituraj arrives at the Sivan house and flirts with Aditi, giving her his autograph and asking for her phone number. Aditi accidentally spills juice on him. Teju takes Rituraj to the washroom and confronts him, asking what he is doing there. Rituraj says he missed her. Teju dismisses him and leaves. The Sivan family sees on the news that Neil has been beaten up and accused of forcing a woman. Upon seeing the news, Mukta and Lakshmi blame Teju, saying if she had been a little nicer to Neil, he wouldn't have gone to the hospital and landed in this situation. Teju asks them to stop blaming her and rushes to the hospital along with Rituraj. The Pradhan family also sees the news and gets worried about Neil. Bhushan calls Serva, asking how someone could beat Neil in his hospital. Serva says they tried to handle the situation, but the crowd was too large, and assures him that the police have arrived and things are now under control. That's a wrap, fans. Thanks for always supporting Z Star Africa. Much love.